Divorce is always a lot of stress, and if possible, it is better not to reach it. But there are situations when divorce is necessary, and one of such grounds for divorce is betrayal. It all depends on many factors, but often people change consciously. They specifically take this step in search of new sensations or because they are tired of their partner. Such betrayal is not excusable. Judge Robert Bushold grimaced with displeasure as his son-in-law Jeff Landry leaned back, a satisfied smile on his face. Sitting across from Jeff was Angel Jelly Landry, Jeff's daughter, a figure he found repugnant and unconventional. Beside the red-haired young woman sat Arabelle Belly Hall, Jelly's girlfriend. "The times are changing and not for the better, Mr. Dillon," Robert mused silently. There was a time when such a relationship would have been scandalous, utterly unacceptable in polite society, with no woman daring to admit such a connection. Nowadays, however, in this permissive and decadent culture, such relationships were not only tolerated, but encouraged. Robert restrained himself from voicing his disapproval. Ever since Jeff had married Donna, Robert and his wife Deborah's daughter, Jeff had shown himself to be a man of strong convictions, unswayed by Judge Bushold's authority or Deborah's forceful personality. When Jeff believed he was right, he stood his ground. Donna had developed a deep affection for Cajun culture, its food, the rich heritage, and the lush landscapes. Upon receiving her high school diploma, Donna Bushold had chosen to attend the University of Louisiana at DeGard instead of Walchester University. After 7 years of studies, Donna had secured a job with Tricarter, an oilfield service provider. "I should never have allowed her to go to that cursed Mardi Gras," Robert lamented silently, watching as Jeff gathered up the empty plates from his daughter and her girlfriend, heading towards the kitchen where Daisy, their housekeeper, stood smiling. Within months of starting at Tricarter, Donna met Jeff Landry, a 34-year-old technician from DeGard Office Equipment Leasing and Maintenance, who came to repair their aging photocopier. Robert conducted a background check on Jeff and was unsettled to learn he was divorced with an 11-year-old daughter. Donna explained that Jeff's divorce happened because his wife cheated on him. Robert shared his concerns about Jeff's relationship with his daughter. Despite their reservations and Deborah's strong disapproval of Jeffrey Andrew Landry, Donna and Jeff married. Over time, their feelings toward Jeff softened somewhat when Donna and Jeff suddenly moved from DeGard, Louisiana to Commonstead, New Jersey. Donna cited homesickness as the reason, and Jeff offered no further explanation. Robert and Deborah met Jelly, Jeff's daughter, who spent summers with him and alternating Thanksgiving or Christmas holidays with Jeff and Donna. Despite Jelly's warm and friendly nature, Robert and Deborah never quite warmed to the lively redhead. During their first Thanksgiving together, as Jeff served Jelly her meal, Deborah made a formal announcement to the family that it was Jeff's inaugural Thanksgiving with them. Thus, he would be responsible for washing the fine china dishes that belonged to her grandmother. "It must be washed by hand," Deborah declared with authority. Jeff observed the amused expressions on the faces of Robert, Donna's brothers, Bobby and Richard, Robert's mother, Genevieve Bushold, Deborah's sisters, and their husbands. Standing up, Jeff took his daughter's hand and helped her out of her seat. "Donna, we're leaving. Are you coming?" Jeff stated firmly, allowing no room for disagreement. "Why, Mom?" Donna snapped as she quickly followed her husband. "Well," Deborah exclaimed. Susan, Bobby's wife, and Tricia, Richard's wife, exchanged a meaningful glance. Quietly, the two women silently applauded Jeff's handling of the situation. Later, while the men relaxed in the den, watching a football game, Susan confided in Tricia that if Deborah had tried that stunt on her, she wouldn't have as many pieces of her grandmother's china left to cherish. Since that day, whenever Jeff Landry did visit the Bushold home, Deborah and Robert greeted their son-in-law with distant civility. Donna had persuaded Jeff that as it was his daughter and her girlfriend's first Thanksgiving in Commonstead, New Jersey, they should host a traditional Thanksgiving meal to make them feel welcome. If the chilly reception bothered Jeff, he didn't show it, nor did he react to the awkward silences that occasionally fell among them. The three of them sat around the large old wooden table, enjoying the truly delicious food. Deborah frowned disapprovingly as she overheard Jeff complimenting Daisy and thanking her for the meal. Didn't he realize he should thank the hostess? Even though Deborah hadn't cooked the meal herself, she had provided it. Therefore, the gratitude should have been directed towards her, the hostess, and not towards a hired servant. Later, after dinner, the 15 guests and Deborah and Robert moved to the living room, while Daisy and Pet, Daisy's sister, brewed coffee and sliced the pumpkin pies. During dinner, Jelly, also known as Angel Landry, had mentioned that she was pregnant. Great. Just great. Another useless brat sucking up our tax dollars for the rest of eternity, Robert thought gloomily. Now in the living room, Susan politely asked Jelly about her plans for naming the baby. Robert mentally noted Susan's consideration. What Susan really wanted to inquire about was whether Jelly intended to terminate the pregnancy. Or, of course, adoption, Robert muttered, then fell silent under Jeff's stern gaze. We're undecided, Jelly replied, exchanging a tender glance with her blonde friend. We've been thinking of Peyton if it's a boy. Peyton Jeffrey Landry Hall, Belly shared. And Andrea if it's a girl, Andrea Michelle Landry Hall, Jelly added. Michelle was Jelly's mother's name, Jeff clarified for everyone. Well, when Bobby and I have a baby, Susan said, if it's a boy, I don't really get a say. Robert Stephen III, Bobby interjected proudly. But if it's a girl, Denise Elizabeth Bushold, Susan continued. Denise Elizabeth Prescott was Susan's older sister who passed away when she was young, Bobby explained unprompted. Oh, how sad, Deborah remarked, her voice void of emotion. I like Carter for a boy, Donna chimed in, and Willa for a girl. Jelly and Belly exchanged a glance, silently conveying their thoughts on those names. Robert noticed Jeff's intense glare towards Donna. Donna also caught Jeff's glare and recoiled from her husband. You bitch! You're unbelievable, damn it, Jeff hissed, his voice dripping with venom. Hey now, Bobby interjected, rising to his feet. I wish you would, Jeff snarled, standing up as well, fists clenched. Bobby, towering over the smaller man by 6 inches and 50 pounds, knew even after 4 glasses of his father's oak leaf whiskey that he had little chance against his sister's fiery Cajun husband, especially given the man's current fury. Daddy, Jelly interjected, sensing the tension in the room. This woman, this little harlot, wants you to name my grandchild after her lover, Jeff spat angrily, his gaze filled with hatred towards his wife. The women in the room gasped at his vulgar outburst and the shocking revelation. Donna broke into tears. Robert, rising from his plush wingback chair, resolved to take charge of the tense situation. Don't bother coming home, understand? I don't want to see any of you near me, Jeff commanded, striding towards the door. Daddy, please wait. We need to get our coats, Jelly called after him, hurrying to follow. I'll get them, Belly offered. Swiftly, Belly slipped past the bulky figure of Robert Bushold and darted to the guest room. There, she quickly located her coat, Jelly's coat, and Mr. Jeff's coat. Grabbing their purses, she hurried back to the front door of the house. As Belly walked past Donna, she noticed a crumpled, defeated figure instead of the normally haughty Miss Donna, who usually looked down on her and Jelly. Belly wondered why she felt no compassion for the real Donna Landry. Thanks, Sugar Booger, Jeff said, using the nickname he had given Belly when Jelly introduced her best friend to her father. I'll drop you 2 off at your apartment, Jeff said as they climbed into his dark green 2016 Dodge Ram 3500 megacab pickup truck. Do you need any help? Jelly asked. Probably. I could use a whole bunch of help. What can you 2 do? Nothing, Jeff replied. Daddy, I'm sorry, Jelly said. I know you loved her. You got it right, honey bunny, Jeff sighed. Loved. Past tense. The trio fell silent as Jeff drove through the eerily quiet streets of Commonstead, New Jersey. It seemed everyone was indoors, enjoying a peaceful dinner with their families and loved ones. Jeff turned onto a small, dead-end street and parked in front of the apartment complex. When I found out about her fling with Big Bill Carter, God, it took everything in me not to lose it, Jeff recounted, shifting the truck into park. Minnie Mrs. Carter. She put a stop to it before I could. Then she suggested we move back to New Jersey. Belly and Jelly waited for Jeff to continue his story. The heater blasted warm air, and they hesitated to leave the comfort of the truck into the biting wind outside. I thought, sure, why not? I don't have all the details. Did he force her? Was he threatening her? I thought I had put it all behind us, in the past where it belongs. But then, just now, Jeff pounded the steering wheel in frustration. Wanting you to name my grandbaby after that no-good, low-life son of a bitch? Both Belly and Jelly flinched as Jeff let out a cry of anguish, pounding his fists on the wheel once more. Eventually, he sighed heavily and unlocked the truck with a press of a button. Bye, Daddy. Love you, Jelly said softly, kissing her father on the cheek. Bye, Mr. Jeff. Love you, added Belly, also kissing his cheek. Why do you have to drive such a huge truck? Jelly grumbled as she awkwardly climbed out backwards. He's a guy. They think a big truck means they're compensating for something, Belly whispered to Jelly. Jeff chuckled at the playful jab from his daughter's girlfriend just before she closed the truck door firmly. He watched the two girls scamper up the metal steps to their third-floor apartment. Giving a friendly toot of his horn, he bid them goodbye for the night. At their rented 3-bedroom ranch-style home, which Jeff and Donna had the option to buy, Jeff entered and surveyed the rooms. Moving through the house, he was disappointed to find nothing of personal value. Apart from his clothes and tools, there was little that belonged exclusively to him. Over their nearly 6 years of marriage, Donna had gradually removed almost everything Jeff owned. Damn, this almost feels too easy, Jeff muttered. Logging into their joint checking account, Jeff split the funds evenly by initiating electronic withdrawals. He did the same for their 2 savings accounts, one for general funds and the other earmarked for their home purchase. Every pay period, they had been paying bills and setting aside 10% of any remaining money into the house account. Next, Jeff accessed a different bank online. Redirecting the withdrawn funds, Jeff opened an account in his daughter's name using her address and cell phone number. He set the passcode to Michelle Bordelon's initials and birthday. After packing his clothes and tools into his truck, Jeff drove to a hideaway inn. He smirked when the bored clerk mentioned free movies with the room. Inside his room, Jeff called his daughter to inform her about the new bank account. He assured her that paperwork would arrive early next week, emphasizing that the account was not for her discretionary use. It was to prevent Judge Robert Buchholz from seizing it. I'll take care of all taxes and fees, Jeff promised his daughter. While talking to Jelly, Jeff noticed that he had received several text messages and 3 voicemails from Donna. He nodded, recalling Deborah's insistence that everyone silence their cell phones during their Thanksgiving dinner. However, this rule didn't apply to Robert, Bobby, or Richard. It was meant only for outsiders. Donna's apologies, like, "I'm sorry," and "I wasn't thinking," seemed to be frequent. Jeff deleted the texts and voicemails without listening to them, not wanting to hear more lies or excuses from his wife. He texted Donna to go home and then blocked her number, as well as her parents and her 2 brothers. He absent-mindedly turned on the TV and began watching adult channels. The next morning, Jeff enjoyed breakfast at the motel and used its Wi-Fi to search for a lawyer. Ronald O'Donnell was available. Apparently, not everyone took a long weekend. Yeah, it helps when you're an only child with really awful parents, Ronald joked. Doesn't your wife have a family? Jeff asked, noticing the large wedding ring on Ronald's left hand. Husband. No. They disowned him because he is not of a traditional orientation, Ronald replied. Oh, Jeff replied, handing Ronald all the information he had, including the prenuptial agreement that Judge Robert Buchholz insisted on. That you should have seen the original, Jeff grinned. Donna gets it all if I even breathe the wrong way. Knowing Judge Robert Stephen Buchholz, I can imagine, Ronald said. Unfortunately, you continued to live with Mrs. Landry even after you found out about her infidelity. I suppose you also continued to enjoy intimacy with her. Enjoying is probably a strong word. Jeff grinned when his cell phone rang. I'm sorry, I have to answer. This is my boss. Patrick Turner apologized for interrupting Jeff's 4-day weekend, explaining that the client urgently needed help with an old model color copier. He promised to double the payment if Jeff would fix it quickly. I told him it would take at least 3 hours. He's desperate, Patrick said. Give me an hour, I'm just in the process, Jeff replied. Damn it, finish up, get yourself cleaned up and go to Joe's office as soon as possible, Patrick chuckled. It'll be done, boss, Jeff said. Do I give you a hello? No, find out if she has a sister, Patrick joked before ending the conversation. Jeff used his phone to transfer funds from his new account to pay Ronald for the retainer. Ronald assured him that he would submit the paperwork to the Suladu County Clerk's office by the end of the business day. When reminded that Donna's father was Judge Robert Bushold, Ronald simply shrugged. It seemed the Suladu County Clerk's office had been instructed to delay any paperwork filed by Jeff Landry or his representatives. Ronald reacted with a smirk and instead filed the same paperwork directly with the state of New Jersey, bypassing Suladu County. The smirk quickly faded from the clerk of court's face when the filing notification appeared on her computer screen moments later. Judge Bushold attempted to intimidate Jeff and his attorney next. Donna retained the law firm of Cooper Farnsworth Wells and Associates with the help of her father's connections. Ronald continued to smirk as he and Jeff faced James Farnsworth and 3 junior partners across a large conference table. As cheerful Christmas music played overhead, and a small plastic Christmas tree stood in the corner with wrapped presents underneath, Jeff couldn't shake the feeling that the boxes were probably just empty, wrapped in bright, festive paper. When James Farnsworth finally fell silent, Ronald and Jeff rose from their seats. James appeared surprised, his eyes widening in response to Ronald and Jeff opening the conference room door. Thank you for the coffee, Ronald said as they exited. Jeff couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt at the sound of Donna breaking into tears. The door closed behind them, muffling her sobs. He followed Ronald to the bank of elevators. Between you and me, Ronald sighed heavily as the elevator doors closed. I hate divorces. Sure, they pay the bills, but... As a judge, Judge Robert Bushold quickly scheduled a hearing before Judge Shirley Howard. Despite Ronald's objections, Judge Howard ordered a minimum of 8 counseling sessions with a certified marriage counselor. Jeff and Ronald shrugged as they left the courtroom. In a corner of the hallway stood a sad-looking Christmas tree. Jeff pondered its age, guessing it had been bought decades ago. Over time, the metal trunk and branch attachments had worn down. Even the ornaments seemed ancient and neglected. Look, go through your 8 sessions, try not to upset anyone, and we'll take it from there, Ronald sighed as they waited for an elevator. You know what? I'll take the stairs, Jeff decided, seeing Donna and her team of lawyers enter the hallway. Dr. Roberta Stitwell, a woman nearing 50, opted not to use makeup and wore plain, unflattering attire. Her long, graying brown hair was tightly pulled back into a severe bun, and her glasses consistently slid down to the tip of her nose. Her waiting room lacked any decor, furnished only with uncomfortable, hard plastic chairs. Despite the cheerful Christmas music playing overhead, there were no festive decorations to be found. The office of Dr. Stitwell was similarly austere, devoid of artwork, its faded white walls encased a serviceable brown desk and hard wooden chairs. Her demeanor hardened as Jeff moved one chair as far from the other as possible. Your office isn't very inviting, Jeff remarked after Dr. Stitwell listed her credentials. I positioned the chairs intentionally, Jeff, Roberta retorted. Understood, Jeff agreed. And since you prefer Dr. Stitwell, I'll remind you, my name is Mr. Landry. You think you can challenge me, Jeff? Roberta sneered. Jeff's calm demeanor seemed to annoy her further. Attempting to regain control, Roberta turned to Donna and interrupted before Donna could speak. Jeff, Please put your phone away, Roberta demanded. Well, Roberta, Jeff said casually. Dr. Stitwell, the woman snapped. Oh, then, I'm Mr. Landry, Jeff clarified. But I am recording these sessions. When we appear before Judge Howard, I want undeniable proof that I participated fully and accommodated all reasonable requests. You're not allowed to record these sessions, Roberta said sharply. Actually, I am, especially since you're paying me $210 an hour, Jeff replied incredulously. Did you deliberately seek out the most expensive counselor in Commonstead, Donna? But as long as you're footing the bill, you can decide if I record these sessions or not. He maintained a calm smile despite Roberta's agitation. Donna waited silently as the standoff between her husband and the doctor played out. And who knows? Your words might be so inspiring, so helpful that I'll want to revisit them, Jeff added, smiling warmly. Go ahead, Donna, Roberta grumbled, conceding the confrontation to Jeff Landry. For the next 30 minutes, Donna cried softly as she shared her side of the story. She expressed her hope that she and Jeff, the love of her life, could find their way back to each other. I mean, we're expecting our first grandchild, Donna said, wiping her nose with a tissue provided by Roberta. Jeff? Mr. Landry? Roberta asked sharply as Donna blew her nose into the cheap tissue. Yes, Roberta? Dr. Stitwell? Jeff responded. Your intentions? Roberta snapped, irritated that Jeff had caught on to her use of his first name. Oh, to divorce this knowingly unfaithful woman, Jeff stated. And? Roberta pressed, her face reddening as Jeff sat there silently. And? Jeff prompted. Do you have nothing else to say? Roberta demanded. Oh, okay, Jeff replied. Your waiting room is uncomfortable. Your office is even worse. Neither space is warm or welcoming. There's no effort to make your clients feel comfortable. I was referring to, Roberta snarled. Then when someone meets you for the first time, instead of welcoming them, building any kind of rapport, you try to dominate them, asserting your authority by listing all your degrees, the numerous theses and opinions you've published. So, after intimidating your clients into accepting you as an expert, you insist they address you by your acquired title, without establishing any connection or empathy. Jeff continued his critique. Mr. Landry, that's enough, Roberta interrupted sharply. And let's discuss your personal appearance, Jeff persisted. Have you ever considered cosmetics? I'm not suggesting heavy makeup, but some effort wouldn't hurt. Concealer under your eyes to cover those circles, foundation to even out your skin tone, a lot in your case. Maybe a touch of eyeliner and mascara to enhance those dull brown eyes. Mr. Landry, I said enough, Roberta interjected firmly. And your hair. My sister used to put hers up in a bun or French braid on busy days, but yours is pulled so tight your eyes almost look slanted, Jeff continued. And those clothes. Did you purposely choose the most unflattering ones? Bravo. I didn't know polyester leisure suits were still around. Oh, wait. For women, they're called pantsuits. But if your aim was to look serious and professional, you missed the mark. You come across more like a clown. Leave. Get out of my office. Now, Roberta demanded. And that's why I've recorded this session. You've cut it short by 10 minutes. Jeff smiled as he stood up. Oh my God, Roberta said bitterly as Jeff quietly closed the door behind him. Are you really sure you want to stay married to that man? Donna remained silent, rising from her seat. She exited the office just in time to see the elevator doors closing, Jeff standing stiffly inside. At their next session, Jeff asked Dr. Stitwell if she was married. She refused to answer, so Jeff quickly searched on his cell phone despite Roberta's protests. The answer is no. You are not married, nor have you ever been married, Jeff read aloud. And your thesis on living in an asexual society? It doesn't inspire confidence that you know anything about relationships. Jeff turned to Donna, who waited with her head bowed. He shook his head sadly. Again, Donna, why did you choose this woman? Is this some kind of joke? Jeff addressed Donna directly for the first time since that disastrous Thanksgiving dinner at her parents' house. I am qualified to... Roberta interjected. Are you really? Jeff interrupted the doctor. Tell me, Dr. Stitwell, how many of your clients actually manage to repair their relationships after seeing you? I am not at liberty, Roberta began. Less than 12%, Jeff cut her off. 11.6, according to Suladu County records. Are you finished? Roberta snapped. Yes, I was finished long before I came here last week. But I suppose the courts need proof of that. Jeff smiled wryly. At the end of their session, Jeff managed to provoke Dr. Stitwell by wishing her a Merry Christmas, which only deepened her anger when he chuckled at her furious glare. On the cold Christmas morning, it seemed Donna had used Daisy's cell phone. Jeff listened calmly to the voicemail where Donna tearfully expressed her love for him and wished him a Merry Christmas before deleting the message. Jelly's pregnancy was now quite evident. Jeff embraced her and kissed his daughter on the head, extending his Christmas greetings. He then hugged Belly and wished her a Merry Christmas too. The Christmas Mass at St. John the Baptist's Catholic Church was packed. The priest, a young Vietnamese man clearly devoted to his calling, assured the congregation he would be brief, looking forward to a cup of hot cocoa spiked with Iron Barrel whiskey waiting for him at the rectory. Back at his apartment, Jeff, Jelly, and Belly exchanged Christmas presents. When Belly quietly asked Jeff if he missed Miss Donna, he replied hoarsely, No, Belly. Once trust is broken like that, shattered, I was just waiting for someone else to come along and take her away. During their third session on Tuesday, January 4th, Jeff let Donna express her frustrations. He cooperated with Dr. Stitwell's facilitation of the session, responding politely to her questions without offering much elaboration unless prompted. But, Mr. Landry, you were aware of Donna's affair, and yet chose to continue your relationship with her, Dr. Stitwell interjected, growing impatient with the obstinate man. Well, Dr. Stitwell, before we proceed, may I ask Donna a question? Jeff smirked, noting the sudden flash of anger in the woman. Yes, certainly, Donna reluctantly agreed. Donna, why did you end things with Big Bill? Jeff inquired. I realized it was wrong, Donna stammered. I mean, I'm married to the man of my dreams and no amount of money or power, Big Bill Carter's imposing presence notwithstanding, could justify risking my relationship with Jeff. Jeff, who are you calling? Roberta exclaimed sharply. Hello, Mrs. Carter, Jeff said into his cell phone. Roberta noticed how Donna's breath caught in her throat and the color suddenly drained from her face. She turned her head and looked at the terrified client, momentarily distracted from Jeff Landry. Mr. Landry, as I said before, Roberta began, without taking her eyes off Donna. Excuse me, yes, ma'am, Jeff interrupted with a smile. So, Minnie, I'll put you on speaker, okay? Of course. Minnie Carter's cheerful voice came on the line. Hi, Donna, how are you? Mr. Landry, turn it off immediately, Dr. Stitwell barked, struggling to get up from her unstable office chair. So, Minnie, why did Donna end her relationship with your husband? Jeff asked, piercing Donna Landry with his gaze. Because she knew that I would kill her if she didn't, Minnie replied without hesitation. Oh? Can you elaborate? Jeff asked, standing up and taking the phone from Roberta's hand. Yeah, I found her and my husband on his Italian leather couch. When I put a big butcher knife to her throat, Minnie giggled. Mr. Landry, I said turn it off, Roberta demanded, trying to reach for the phone. Yes, she still has a small scar from where you cut her, Jeff said, holding the phone high to avoid Roberta's attempts. Turn it off, Donna sobbed. Please just turn it off. This woman released a yellow liquid right on the couch, Minnie giggled, enjoying the story. Bill was more upset about losing the couch than about his little affair. Oh, Minnie, let me send you a picture, Jeff said, turning away from Roberta. And thanks for the photos you sent me. Maybe I'll need them someday. Huh, Minnie exclaimed. Who's this, Jeff? That's Donna and her father, Jeff replied, and see any family resemblance? Huh, Can we say Electra Complex? Minnie chuckled. He looks just like Big Bill, doesn't he? You win, Donna cried, curling up. Fine, okay? You win. So, Roberta, Dr. Stitwell, now that we've established Donna's a liar, Jeff began, glaring at the counselor. Get out. I want you out of this office right now, Roberta screamed, furious. Judge Shirley Howard was unamused by Dr. Roberta Stitwell's report. Despite Judge Bushold's warnings, Shirley signed the papers granting Jeff and Donna Landry a divorce. As Robert read the file Shirley sent, he bit his cheek. Wincing from the pain, he cursed Jeff Landry. Donna, his once beautiful daughter, looked worn out, defeated. She had lost 20 pounds, weight she couldn't afford to lose since Thanksgiving. And who knows why you'd want to stay married to that little jerk anyway, Robert muttered, tossing the papers on his desk. Grabbing the phone, Robert dialed Patrick Turner. He warned Patrick that it was in his best interest for Jeff Landry to lose his job, now that Jeff couldn't demand spousal support from Donna anymore. Yeah, forget it, Bushold, Patrick chuckled. I'm not firing my best employee just because you're upset. You know, you're not in a position to challenge me, Turner, Robert growled. Whatever, Patrick laughed. It would be unfortunate if you lost the county account, Turner, Robert threatened. Oh, oops. Did I forget to mention? You're being recorded, idiot, Patrick chuckled. You can't use that, it's inadmissible. Robert blustered. Who said anything about court? Maybe I'll accidentally pass it to a certain Suladu Crier reporter we both know, Patrick stated. Damn, Robert S. Bushold, you really messed up, Patrick muttered to himself later that evening when he noticed he had a police tail. At the next corner, the police car flashed its lights. Patrick pulled over and reached for his phone. The confident police officer swaggered up to his window, smirking. Good evening, Sergeant Parnell, Patrick greeted warmly. Why am I being pulled over? License and registration, Sergeant Parnell demanded sharply. Of course, Sergeant Parnell. I'm reaching for the vehicle registration in my glove box, Patrick replied, leaning towards the passenger side. I'll be right back, Sergeant Parnell snapped, grabbing the documents forcefully from Patrick's hand. Sergeant Parnell took his time in his squad car. When he eventually tired of keeping Patrick waiting, he emerged from his warm car and returned to Patrick's vehicle. His expression soured when he saw Patrick on his phone. So, think your lawyer can help you now? Sergeant Parnell muttered, glaring. Here he comes, Patrick said, lowering his window again. Sir, put the phone down and step out of the vehicle, Sergeant Parnell ordered sharply. You heard him? Patrick asked, into his phone. Yes, I heard. Captain Al Bagnelli's voice came through the car's speakers as Patrick switched to Bluetooth. This is Captain Al Bagnelli. Officer Parnell, why is Mr. Turner being asked to step out of his car? It's Sergeant Parnell. Sergeant Parnell stumbled, losing his bravado. Unless you can provide a satisfactory answer, it will be Officer Parnell, Captain Bagnelli snapped. Robert Bushold showed no sympathy for Sergeant Parnell's misfortune. He considered people like Sergeant Parnell as disposable. He successfully persuaded the county to switch their service contract to a new, inexperienced company. This decision initially affected Patrick Turner's revenue, but the contract was short-lived due to the failure of the cable network in the courthouse. The new company failed to repair the network or retrieve crucial information from the old file system, putting decades of records at risk from 1985 onwards. Jeff, I know sending you will cause some friction. Patrick grinned as he negotiated a renewal bonus for his company. No, Ms. Varney, you heard me right. 25,000, or good luck with your system. I've been advising an upgrade for years. Patrick discreetly reminded Jeff to be tactful, especially around Judge Robert Bushold, before refocusing on the county comptroller. He stood firm, waving Jeff out of his office as negotiations continued. On April 15th, a day when many rushed to complete their paperwork and calculate their taxes for the IRS, Angel found herself admitted to Suladu General Hospital in Carlton, New Jersey. The petite woman underwent a C-section as recommended by her OB-GYN for the well-being of both mother and child. Andrea Michelle Landry Hall, you are the most beautiful little girl in the world, Jelly exclaimed, cradling the small red-headed bundle. And you are the most beautiful mommy in the world, Belly added tearfully beside Jelly's hospital bed. Well, of course, Jeff chimed in, wiping away his own tears of joy. After all, they have the most beautiful daddy and granddaddy in the world. Oh? Is he coming later? The OB-GYN teased with lively brown eyes. Oh, that's just mean, so mean, Jeff chuckled, snapping another photo of his granddaughter with his cell phone. I'm too young to be a grandmother, Jelly's mother Michelle remarked upon receiving Jeff's cell phone pictures. Donna somehow learned of Andrea's birth. Jeff deleted the voicemail she left, congratulating him on his cell phone. Jelly did show her father the beautiful ballerina doll and the silver brush and comb set Donna had sent for Andrea. What do you want me to do, Daddy? Jelly asked. Sweetheart, I want you to always do what's best for Andrea. In everything you do, always, always, always do what's best for your little girl, Jeff replied. I love you so much, Daddy, Jelly declared, cradling the now peacefully sleeping infant. Yeah, Belly added softly. On October 15th, Andrea's half-year mark, Jelly playfully reminded Jeff that his own birthday was approaching. Belly teased Jeff about his sprinkling of gray hairs among his closely cropped brown locks. She giggled as Jeff mockingly bit her finger. Don't worry, Mr. Jeff, Belly said, snuggling closer. Turning 72 isn't so bad. Oh, you little rascal, Jeff laughed, pulling Belly into a tight hug. I'll only be 42. 42, not 72. Really? Well, time hasn't been too kind, Belly teased, laughing. That's it. You're not my sugar booger anymore. You're now Snotty Potty, Jeff declared. So, seriously, Daddy, what do you want for your birthday? Jelly interjected, nudging Belly for teasing their father. Honey Bunny, what could I possibly want? Jeff replied. I have a beautiful daughter. Two beautiful daughters, Belly chimed in. And one snotty daughter, Jeff added, causing Belly to squeal and Jelly to giggle. Leaving their third-floor apartment, Jeff descended to his unit on the ground floor. He entered the two-bedroom apartment, hanging his light jacket on the antique coat stand by the front door. Surveying his place, Jeff nodded approvingly. Not bad for a bachelor pad, Jeff decided, reaching into the refrigerator for a Gratchley's beer. The combined living and dining room featured a small sofa and recliner. The light brown leather sofa and the hunter green velour recliner complemented each other well. An antique brass freestanding floor lamp in the corner coordinated nicely with the sofa and chair. In the dining area, a light brown wood table with antique brass details was accompanied by 4 chairs. Jeff hadn't noticed this when he bought the set from the consignment shop. Belly was the one who pointed out how the table, chairs, and floor lamp seamlessly tied the two rooms together. His kitchen, though small and barely functional, suited Jeff's needs as he mostly cooked for himself. When he first moved in, Jeff had worried Donna would object to the apartment due to the kitchen alone. The bathroom was also tiny, offering little space to move around. However, since Jeff only used it for the basics, it served his purposes adequately. He had no plans to indulge in bubble baths, apply makeup, or style his hair there. Jeff considered the first bedroom more suitable for a large closet than an actual bedroom. He had acquired a crib, changing table, and matching toy box from a garage sale, and there was even a playpen tucked into the closet. With Andrea now 6 months old, Jeff realized he would soon need to use it. His own bedroom boasted a queen-sized bed with a Tempur-Pedic mattress. His boss and friend, Patrick Turner, teased Jeff for preferring such a plush, comfortable bed, jokingly calling him a giant girl. Jeff responded by asking Patrick what he and his friends slept on. Along the north and east walls stood a tall dresser and a low dresser with an attached mirror, perfectly complementing the room. The nightstand fit snugly next to the bed along the south wall, Any wider and it would have blocked the closet door. The rent was a bit high, but Jeff didn't mind paying it promptly on the first of each month. Being just downstairs from his daughter and granddaughter made it worthwhile. He often smiled to himself, noting that he now had 2 daughters and a granddaughter close by. Being so conveniently located, Jeff had become the go-to babysitter whenever Jelly and Belly needed to run errands, shop for groceries, or enjoy a date night. Some date, Jeff scoffed. The girls' idea of a date involved heading to Wally's Pizzeria just around the corner to indulge in a large Wally Harvbanger pizza. Afterwards, they might stroll over to the nearby arcade, or perhaps across the street to Garden State Bowling Alley. Hand in hand, filled with happiness, they would return, picking up Andrea before heading back to their apartment. Yeah, Jeff remarked, finishing his beer. Some date, but they're happy. Seated on his bed, Jeff lifted the empty can to his lips, then realized it was dry and placed it on his nightstand. He sat silently for a long moment, staring into nothingness. On October 31st, Patrick suggested Halloween was the perfect birthday celebration for Jeff, given Jeff's penchant for horror. "Roses are red, pickles are green, you don't need a mask even on Halloween," Patrick quipped, handing Jeff a $50 gift card for Wally's Pizzeria. "Roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet. What the happened to you?" Jeff retorted, thanking Patrick for the gift card. "Jelly and Belly will definitely love it," Jeff thought, slipping the card into his wallet. During lunch, Belly texted, asking if she could bring a friend to the special birthday dinner she and Jelly were preparing for Jeff. Jeff pondered this request, hoping it wasn't Donna. She better not be bringing Donna, Jeff thought, as Belly flooded him with kissy face and birthday cake emojis. Belly worked at Dependable Commercial and Residential Cleaners, located in the same building as the First National Bank of Commonstead, where Donna was the executive assistant to Beverly Hollister, the branch manager. Occasionally, Belly would encounter Donna and report back to Jeff. "She looks rough," Belly would often remark, or she'd say, "She asked about you." A toner cartridge spilled in Jeff's hands during his last client visit. His uniform shirt and khakis were ruined beyond repair. Jeff wasn't too bothered about his worn-out work boots. However, he had to call Jelly to let her know he needed to clean up before joining them for his birthday dinner. "Okay, Daddy. See you soon," Jelly cheerfully replied. "But he's still coming, right?" Jeff overheard Belly insist, hoping Donna wouldn't be there. Earlier that day, Donna had called him from her office. Jeff had picked up, thinking it might be a new client. Since they'd defeated Robert Buchhold's company in their attempt to harm Patrick Turner, their business had nearly doubled. Donna attempted a poor rendition of Marilyn Monroe's Happy Birthday, Jeff remarked before ending the call. After scrubbing as best he could, though he still needed industrial cleaner to remove the ink from his hands, Jeff headed to his daughter's apartment. Knocking on the door, he heard 3 excited squeals and smiled at the joyful sounds. "He's here. Andrea, the birthday boy is here," Jelly announced as Belly swung open the door. "Hi, Sugar Booger," Jeff grinned, kissing his adorable blonde daughter. "I thought I was Snotty Potty," Belly protested. "Hello, you must be Belly's friend," Jeff greeted a cute redhead at the dining table. "Daddy, this is Sydney, I'm poor," Belly introduced. "And guess what? Today's her birthday, too." When Jeff gazed into the girl's eyes, he felt a small spark. As he shook her warm, soft hand, Jeff attributed it to static electricity. He stared into her caramel brown eyes for a moment before releasing her hand. "Yes, Mom's in Trenton at some symposium or something, and Daddy insists he's in Vancouver on business and can't get away," Sydney said with a smile. "So, Arabelle, Belly said I just had to come over. You're having chicken and sausage gumbo and—" "Is that what I'm smelling?" Jeff interrupted. "Oh, and happy birthday. Sorry, I didn't realize, so I didn't get you a card or anything." "You can get her one tomorrow," Belly suggested. "Hi, Daddy," Jelly said proudly from the stove. "Honey Bunny, when did you learn how to make a roux?" Jeff asked, kissing his daughter. But God, that smells fantastic. Well, it's actually from a jar, Jelly confessed. Mom sent it a couple of weeks ago when I told her I wanted to make you gumbo. Well, that was very nice of her, Jeff replied, a bit surprised at his ex-wife's gesture. Returning to the living room, Jeff greeted his granddaughter. Andrea responded with a toothy grin from her playpen. Then Jeff turned his attention back to Sydney Poore. Sydney, a redhead with pale skin and a sprinkling of freckles, had warm brown eyes that were expressive. Her nose was slender, and her lips formed a delicate cupid's bow. She wore a sleeveless dress in bright orange, adorned with 2 smiling jack-o'-lanterns over her chest. Due to the pumpkin's placement, Jeff could only guess at her bust size, but he imagined it to be ample. Sydney was seated at the table, legs tucked underneath so Jeff couldn't gauge her height. Her bare arms looked slender, leading him to surmise that Sydney was not overweight. Miss Michelle even sent some Crystal's hot sauce, Belly announced, placing a large bottle of the flavorful hot sauce on the table. Yes, indeed, Jeff exclaimed. Happy birthday to me. Jeff was served first, despite his insistence that Sydney should be served before him. She received her bowl second, waiting until Jelly and Belly had been served. Each person also had smaller bowls of potato salad placed beside them. Just before sitting down, Jelly added 2 sleeves of saltine crackers to the table. Jeff sampled the gumbo, then reached for the hot sauce bottle. Sydney cautiously tasted her dish, then looked wide-eyed at Jeff. How can you add more hot sauce to this? Sydney asked incredulously. He's Cajun, Belly shrugged. And that gives him an iron stomach? Sydney queried. While they ate, Jeff discovered that the 22-year-old redhead was an executive assistant to Walden Donaldson. She had been with King Sanitation and Disposal since graduating from Suladu County Votech, starting as a receptionist before advancing to the executive manager's office. No, please sit. I know where the kitchen is, Sydney insisted when she mentioned wanting a glass of ice water. Jeff's eyes widened as Sydney emerged from behind the table. Her orange dress ended mid-thigh, revealing her pale, sleek, muscular legs. Jeff suspected Sydney had been quite athletic in high school, much like Donna and Michelle, who had been a cheerleader and volleyball player, respectively. Both had possessed nicely rounded buttocks, and Sydney's dress showcased her own posterior perfectly. Despite her waist-length red hair, Jeff's view of her figure remained unobstructed as she entered the kitchen. Isn't she adorable? Belly whispered eagerly to Jeff. Yeah, she's really cute and young, Jeff replied. Way too young for me. God, Belly, she's the same age as you and Jelly. So, and? Jelly whispered. She's a couple of years older, Belly argued. Are you guys talking about me? Sydney asked upon returning to the dining table. I'm sorry. I know you like your iced tea strong, but you could paint walls with that tea. Daddy thinks he's too old for you, Jelly declared. Sydney glanced up from her gumbo bowl. Jeff blushed intensely when the striking redhead met his gaze. Her amused grin showcased flawless teeth. Well, Belly did mention you're ancient. Like 72 or something, Sydney teased. Sydney, Belly giggled. That settles it. You're officially snotty potty, Jeff retorted to Belly. But hey, not bad for a septuagenarian, Sydney added, washing down her food with iced water. Oh, thanks, I think, Jeff chuckled. As dinner wrapped up, Jelly and Belly rushed to the kitchen. Moments later, they reappeared singing Happy Birthday, carrying a store-bought cake. Jeff laughed at the 7 and 2 candles glowing atop it. Post-cake and ice cream, Sydney hugged Jelly and Belly warmly, thanking them for the invite and for making her 22nd birthday unforgettable. Goodbye, Jeff, Sydney said, her eyes locking onto his. Hope I'll see you again? No way, I'm walking you to your car, Jeff insisted. Nice neighborhood, but a beautiful woman shouldn't walk alone after dark. A southern gentleman, Sydney beamed, linking her arm through Jeff's. Hope we meet again, Sydney whispered, brushing Jeff's lips with a light kiss before slipping into her car. Yeah, Jeff stammered as she backed out of the parking spot. The next day at work, Patrick approached Jeff to inquire about his birthday celebrations. Jeff paused his task of removing ink from his skin and gave Patrick a forced smile. You know, I feel kind of cheap and used, Jeff confessed. Oh no, what happened? Patrick asked, genuinely concerned. Geez, I don't even know. It's like my right hand just wanted to hurry up and finish so it could go back to picking my nose or scratching my butt. Jeff sighed. It ruined what could have been a nice moment. Wow, Jeff, for a second there I thought you were serious, Patrick chuckled. Between phone calls, Jeff stopped to buy a belated birthday card and spotted a lovely floral arrangement at Ichabod's Grocer's, already in an elegant vase. During his lunch break, he drove to the King Sanitation and Disposal Building. Who are those for? A striking blonde asked, poised to announce the recipient. Delivery for Sydney Poor? Jeff stuttered, suddenly feeling awkward. Oh, how lovely, the girl exclaimed, paging Sydney at her desk. Ms. Poor, you have flowers. No, I'm not joking. Sydney, why would I joke about that? A moment later, the elevator door chimed and Sydney stepped into the lobby. Jeff thought she looked mature and confident in her business attire. A small navy blue jacket with three-quarter sleeves, a matching knee-length skirt, and a light gray and white striped blouse. However, her poised demeanor vanished when she squealed and hurried over to where Jeff was standing. Oh, Jeff, you really didn't need to do that, Sydney exclaimed. Sydney, shh! Of course he had to get you flowers. Are you kidding? The receptionist advised. Evelyn, quiet, Sydney replied. Jeff, this is Evelyn. She took over my old job when I moved up to Mr. Donaldson's office. Evelyn, meet Jeff Landry, my boyfriend. Have you eaten yet? There's a lunchroom upstairs. They have wraps and salads, or most people bring their own. Sydney enthused, pulling Jeff towards the elevator. Wow, I can't believe you even remembered that blue is my favorite color, Sydney gushed over the flowers as they rode up to her floor. Let me just put these on my desk and then we'll go to lunch. Oh, I'm so surprised. You really didn't have to do this. But I'm glad I did, Jeff thought to himself. And no, I didn't remember that blue is your favorite color. Jeff smiled as Sydney found a spot to display her flowers. Just a lucky guess. In the cafeteria, Jeff ordered a mixed green salad and a turkey wrap. Sydney opted for a chef's salad, and they found a table to enjoy their lunch. A man approached them, smiling. I noticed your uniform shirt, Walden Donaldson said with a smile. When you finish lunch, come to my place, take your time. I want to discuss what Turner can do for us. I recognize that accent. I would recognize it anywhere. Where are you from? Jeff asked. I'm from a small town. I bet you've never heard of him. Walden grinned, recognizing Jeff's accent in response. Degard, Louisiana. No way, exclaimed Jeff. Me too. What school did you go to? Get out. Walden laughed happily. Finish up here and come back later, okay? Back at the office, Jeff casually informed Patrick that they were preparing to sign a service contract with King Sanitary. Patrick smiled incredulously. What? Did you manage to charm the hell out of him? I've been trying for 3 years, Patrick chuckled. I almost got it right with that guy, Bryce Adams, but then they kicked him out. No, I told him you could do it, Jeff smiled. And remember, you have to be committed. Since the $50 gift card to Wally's Pizzeria was literally burning a hole in their pockets, Jelly and Belly were looking forward to the date. So Jeff set up a playpen in his living room. After warming up the rest of the gumbo, Jeff sat down at the table and enjoyed a delicious meal, which was the perfect end to a great day. Sorry, it's not going to work this Friday. I can't look after my granddaughter, Jeff told the two girls when they came to pick up Andrea. I have a date. Thanks a lot, Belly, Jelly teased her. Come on, Belle smiled, slinging the diaper bag over her shoulder. Are you ready? Jeff and Sydney started their evening at a Chinese restaurant, where Jeff impressed Sydney with his skill with chopsticks. Then they went to the local corn maze, then rode in the hayloft and ended the evening with cups of hot chocolate by the crackling campfire. Sydney snuggled up to him, and Jeff was pleased to hold her close. They were kissing. On Saturday evening, Sydney invited Jeff to an exhibition of laser art. Jeff liked the visual spectacle, but he found techno music too loud and monotonous for himself. However, when they danced, Sydney clearly enjoyed snuggling up to him. Is this just for me? Sydney teased him, wrapping her arms around Jeff's neck and clinging to him. "Just for you," Jeff agreed, mimicking her movements. "Great," Sydney giggled, kissing him. During the week, Jeff carefully looked after his granddaughter despite the constant phone calls. However, his plans for Friday and Saturday suddenly fell through. Jelly was joking good-naturedly, and Belly was beaming with self-satisfaction. On the Saturday before Thanksgiving, Jeff and Sydney were dining at an Italian restaurant in Carlton. They planned to visit the nightclub next door afterwards. Sydney was eager to dance, especially since she knew the drummer of the cover band. Jeff suddenly remarked, glancing towards the restaurant door. "Is something wrong?" Sydney asked, looking up from her Caesar salad. "Oh no, it's nothing," Jeff replied. "Then why did you say, like that?" Sydney probed, noticing the hostess seating 2 people at a nearby table. "That's Donna, my ex-wife," Jeff admitted, observing a frail-looking Donna Bushold with Seamus McCullen, her high school boyfriend. Jeff knew that Deborah, Donna's mother, had always approved of Seamus. She often mentioned it in front of Jeff. Deborah also prominently displayed the prom photo of Seamus and Donna on her fireplace mantel. Jeff had no idea where Deborah kept the wedding photo of him and Donna. During meals, Deborah would often update Donna on Seamus's recent achievements. "She looks pretty," Sydney commented, observing Donna's blonde hair and stylish attire. "Sydney, she looks so thin," Jeff remarked. Despite the cosmetics covering it up, Jeff could see the bags under Donna's eyes. He knew his ex-wife well enough to notice these signs. Jeff noticed that Donna appeared extremely thin, her skin tightly stretched across her face. Despite her smile aimed at Seamus McCullen, it was evident to Jeff that the smile didn't reach Donna's eyes. Shaking his head, he refocused on his Caesar salad. "Do you want to go?" Sydney asked. "What?" "And miss out on the sausage and linguine you've been raving about," Jeff replied as the waitress cleared their salad plates. "Raving about?" Sydney laughed. "Raving and raving and raving nonstop about how it's the best sausage and linguine I'll ever have. I'll never be able to eat anything else in my life," Jeff teased. "Oh, stop it. I never said anything like that, Jeffrey Andrew Landry," Sydney protested, laughing. After a truly enjoyable meal, Jeff settled the bill and helped Sydney out of her seat. As he turned to offer his hand to Sydney, he heard a loud gasp. Looking over, he saw Donna's pained expression and tear-filled eyes as he held Sydney's hand. The cover band was decent, with a good singer. They might not land a record deal, but they were making ends meet with gigs like this. Jeff and Sydney danced to the music. During a break, Sydney pulled Jeff backstage. The roadie smiled and didn't intervene. Even as Jeff bantered with the musicians, he couldn't shake the sight of his ex-wife's distress. Even as Sydney held on to him, Jeff was troubled by Donna's unhappiness. When the band announced another break, Sydney suggested they should leave. Walking to his pickup truck together, she casually asked Jeff about the cleanliness of his apartment. "What does it matter to you? You won't see it in the dark," Jeff replied, catching on to her implication. "I refuse to use a dirty bathroom," Sydney insisted. "Honey, my Sydney, my apartment is immaculate," Jeff reassured her as he helped her into the truck. "Remember, I babysit my granddaughter there. It's spotless." As Jeff drove carefully, Robert Bushold felt his animosity towards Jeffrey Andrew Landry reignite. After months of therapy, an admission Robert found deeply shameful, his daughter seemed to be emerging from her self-imposed isolation. She'd even agreed to a date with Seamus McCullen, and just to rub salt in her wounds, her ex-husband showed up. According to Seamus, Jeff had been there with a young redhead who didn't look old enough to be drinking the wine they had during their meal. In none of the cell phone photos Seamus had taken of Jeff and his date was the woman's face visible. Robert agreed. The dress was too short to be considered decent, but the girl had attractive legs and a nice figure. Despite her scanty attire, Robert noticed the expensive clothing, including a Rolex watch on her right wrist. From this detail, he inferred that the redhead likely had some wealth, or knew how to acquire expensive gifts from her partners. "Well, Mr. Landry, you've crossed me and my daughter for the last time," Robert thought, dismissing Seamus from his private room. As Robert poured himself another glass of whiskey, Jeff was helping Sidney out of his pickup truck. With a mischievous smile, Sidney briefly teased him. Jeff was surprised to see that his beautiful companion was indeed a natural redhead. She gave him a passionate kiss and then led him to his apartment door. "Oh, I bet you don't have a padded hanger," Sidney teased as she entered his dimly lit apartment. "And this dress is cashmere." "Ha! Yes, I do," Jeff chuckled, locking his apartment door after them. "Jelly and Belly gave me this really awful—" Turning, Jeff noticed Sidney holding out her light blue dress. Her bra, a delicate light blue satin, perfectly cupped her 30C breasts. Her waist was impossibly small, her hips curving out elegantly. "Could you hang this up for me, darling?" Sidney purred. "I need to freshen up." Jeff silently took the expensive dress from her, smiling as Sidney turned on her 4-inch heels and headed for the bathroom. Her bra fluttered to the floor just before she closed the door. "Could you grab that for me, sweetheart?" Sidney called through the bathroom door. "Of course," Jeff agreed, picking up the discarded bra. Jelly and Belly had gifted Jeff Christmas sweaters, one for festive occasions, the other a deep crimson with a large white snowflake. Both came with fabric-covered hangers. Jeff decided they were better folded in the dresser drawer. He hung Sidney's dress in the closet farthest from the bedroom door. Glancing at his sparse wardrobe in the closet, he thought some of Sidney's clothes would fit nicely there. Quickly, while she was still in the bathroom, Jeff transferred the clothes from the smaller to the larger closet. "And I can move my tees to the drawers. Then there will be a drawer for her underwear," Jeff began, then hurriedly slipped off his shoes as he heard the toilet flush. Jeff turned on the bedside lamp and its soft light replaced the harsh overhead light. Just at that moment, the bathroom door swung open. "Did you miss me?" Sidney purred, walking slowly into the bedroom. "Every second you've been gone," Jeff replied, stopping to admire her flawless figure. "You know, when you walked into Belly's apartment, Belle kept saying how perfect her dad was for me. I didn't believe her at first, but—" Sidney muttered, wrapping her arms around Jeff's neck. "So I'm not just a stupid old man?" Jeff asked, reciprocating by taking her in his arms. "No," Sidney whispered, looking into his eyes. "I felt it too. When you entered the room, I felt it too. I looked at you and realized, here he is, the man I've been waiting for all my life." They had a wonderful night. Jeff woke up when it was still dark outside. Glancing at his watch, he saw that it was 12 minutes past 6. He noticed that she was no longer sleeping, and they repeated what had happened between them at night. After a quick breakfast of scrambled eggs and toast, Sidney disappeared into the bathroom. Jeff sipped his coffee while he waited. Then he drank a third cup. He made up the bed and began to pace back and forth, feeling an increasing desire to go to the toilet. "Okay, you need a better shampoo," Sidney said, opening the bathroom door. "Uh-huh," Jeff groaned, running past her. When Jeff came out of the bathroom, wiping his hands on his faded blue jeans, Sidney was wearing trendy faded jeans and a cute sweater that she took out of a canvas and leather Baragona bag that Jeff hadn't noticed the night before. She smiled as she put on another pair of 4-inch heels, and Jeff couldn't help but wonder how many pairs of shoes Sidney had. "And a hairdryer? I'll get it and we can see what's in Miss Celeste's house. You're coming to my parents' house for Thanksgiving, right? Please? Please tell me that you will agree?" Sidney asked, getting up from her seat on the couch. Jeff inquired about what he should bring, prompting Sidney to kiss him passionately. "Jelly, Belly, and Andrea," she replied. "I meant dessert. Wine," Jeff suggested. "Jeff, everything will already be there," Sidney smiled. "Just bring yourself and your daughters, okay?" As Sidney zipped up a leather jacket from his coat rack, Jeff, in a long-sleeved tee, jeans, and leather moccasins, joined her outside. Suddenly, as they stepped out, 2 men slammed Jeff against a brick wall. Sidney screamed as Jeff grunted, blood trickling from a scrape on his forehead, wondering if his nose was broken. "Let him go. I have a gun," Sidney ordered. "Shit, you sister," one of the men growled, landing a brutal blow to Jeff's kidney. A gunshot echoed. The man who hit Jeff staggered back, his head slamming on the pavement. The shot had blown out his kneecap, leaving him with a permanent limp, while hitting the sidewalk knocked him out. The second man released Jeff and turned around, reaching for his belt. He noticed a Sidney caliber pistol, .57, aimed directly at his face. "You see a headshot," Sidney warned. "I see a bulletproof vest. It's going to be a headshot." "Listen, lady, just let us," the man growled. "So, get down. Face down on the ground. Cross your ankles, lock your fingers behind your head," Sidney commanded. "Just let us go and—" the man growled. "I'm counting to 2, Sidney warned, holding the gun. "One time, you'll regret this," the man spat out, reluctantly obeying. "No, officer, you're going to regret this. You know what they do to police officers in prison, right?" "Hi, Uncle Al," Sidney said, dialing Captain Begnelli's direct number. "Hello, Uncle Al. I have 2 of your best people. One needs an ambulance." "Lady, you're going to pay for this," Officer Parnell warned after overhearing Sidney's conversation. Next to him, Jeff was kneeling on the sidewalk, still gasping for air. His kidney was throbbing with pain after the brutal blow he had received. His face was sore from where he had been hit against the brick wall. Officer Parnell decided to pull his .32 caliber revolver from his belt. The bullet flew out the moment he did it. Officer Parnell lost consciousness from severe pain. "Hello, Parnell," Captain Al Begnelli greeted warmly when the former officer regained consciousness at the Suladu County General Hospital. "I need a lawyer," the handcuffed man insisted. 9 hours later, as Judge Robert Bushold completed a stunning 124-yard drive on the tricky dogleg 7th hole, a police cruiser abruptly crossed the golf course and screeched to a halt barely a yard away from him. Seamus McCullen, his father Angus McCullen, and one of Angus's business partners stood nearby, mouths agape in disbelief. "Robert Bushold, you're under arrest," declared Lieutenant David Poor as he emerged from the cruiser. Jeff still had black eyes and a grim-looking scrape on his forehead when he, Jelly, and Belly approached the lavish Poor residence with Andrea asleep in her stroller. "They're here. Jeff's here." Jeff couldn't help but chuckle upon hearing Sidney's joyful squeal from inside the enormous mansion. "Jeff, Mom, meet Jeff," Sidney beamed as she introduced Jeff to Judge Shirley Howard. "This is Jeff Landry. We've met, though I'm sure she doesn't remember me." Jeff smirked, extending his hand to the elegantly attired woman. "Oh, I remember you," Shirley drawled. "I remember you quite well. That jerk Robert Bushold practically chewed my ear off during that divorce." "Yeah, sorry about that," Jeff apologized. "And these are my daughters." "And then you turned my little girl into Annie Oakley," Shirley continued, then gasped, noticing the stroller. Oh, and who is this? Who's this little angel?" "Jelly and Belly. And this is their daughter, Andrea," Jeff beamed proudly as Judge Shirley Howard knelt down, cooing at the slowly awakening Andrea. James Poor was significantly older than Judge Howard. Yet despite his 79 years, Jeff could see the sharpness in the man's gray eyes. He also had a strong handshake. "Glad you could make it, Jeff. Can I call you Jeff?" James asked, his voice firm. "Our home would have been quite empty. Our oldest, Jimmy, is stationed at the Pentagon. No, we can't discuss his work, but he couldn't join us. And David might drop by, but he's the senior officer on duty. Lord knows where Samuel is," Shirley remarked, approaching James with Andrea. "Look at her, isn't she adorable?" "Well, would you look at that? Oh my goodness, look at that red hair," James cooed over the smiling baby. "You're such a beautiful little girl." "Daddy loves redheads," Sidney whispered loudly, pointing to her mother's red hair. Shirley had passed the bar exam and practiced law as Shirley Howard. Even after marrying James Samuel Poor, she retained her maiden name. "Professionally, I go by Judge Shirley Howard," she smiled. "But everywhere else?" I'm Shirley Poor. The luckiest woman in all of New Jersey, James added, his gray eyes twinkling. The most, Jelly began to ask. Because she's married to me, James interrupted, grinning broadly. How those eyes haven't turned brown yet is a mystery, Shirley smirked, shaking her head. You're just full of it. During the Thanksgiving break, more and more of Sydney's belongings found their way from her home to Jeff's apartment. On their third morning waking up together, Jeff discovered a flaw in Sydney's otherwise flawless demeanor. She struggled with basic cooking tasks like boiling water or making scrambled eggs. Well, when would I have learned? Sydney chuckled with embarrassment. It's not like Consuela was going to teach me. Returning to work the Monday after Thanksgiving, Jeff was unexpectedly summoned to Patrick's office. Patrick brandished a stack of papers at Jeff. What the hell, Landry? Tired of half-assed repairs? Think you're a salesman now? Patrick accused. We just landed the J.S. Poor Investment Group account. Commercial rentals, Jeff. Can you handle refrigeration? No, I can't, but how does this involve me? Jeff replied. Come on, you know who James Poor is, right? Patrick scoffed. And great job getting Judge Bushold behind bars. How'd you swing that? I transferred prohibited materials from your computer to his, Jeff said casually. But I didn't rat you out. Good. Can't afford more trouble with the feds. Patrick nodded, then looked up at Jeff. Got nothing better to do than stand there looking ugly? By the way, loving what you've done with your eyes. Big improvement. Kiss my ass, Jeff laughed, grabbing his invoices. Oh, King Sanitation? Christmas fell on a Monday that year. On December 18th, the Monday just before Christmas, Jeff unexpectedly visited the J.S. Poor building. The executive assistant, who seemed impeccably maintained, stopped Jeff at her desk and declined his entry. Deliberately, she typed out some information and then asked Jeff to wait on a plush leather couch while she continued typing. Eventually, she picked up the phone and murmured a few words. Jeff nearly chuckled when the assistant's indifferent blue eyes suddenly focused, and she straightened up. After mumbling a few more words into the phone, she hung up. I apologize, Mr. Landry. He said you can go right in, she said, rising and hurrying to the large wooden door behind her desk. Would you like some coffee, Mr. Landry? Tea? Water? Coffee, 2 creams, no sugar. Jeff smirked, walking past her into James Poor's spacious office. I bet Frida had you waiting out there, James chuckled, coming around the desk to shake Jeff's hand. Yes, sir, she did, Jeff agreed, shaking James's hand firmly. Don't worry, next time she'll offer to keep you entertained. James smiled, sitting on the edge of his desk. So what brings you by today? The coffee was the best Jeff had tasted since moving to Commonstead from DeGard. Nothing could compare to the rich coffee his grandmother used to brew in her old worn-out cast-iron pot. Jeff's mother used a French press, which came close to Mears coffee. A French press? I'd love to try that, James remarked. But Jeff, did you really come here to talk about coffee? No, sir, Jeff smiled, then proceeded with the purpose of his visit. Although Sydney identified as Baptist, albeit non-practicing, she joined Jeff, Jelly, Belly, and Andrea for midnight mass at St. John the Baptist Catholic Church on Christmas Eve. She was captivated by the ceremony and sang along with the children's choir. Jeff smiled, noticing yet another imperfection in his stunning girlfriend. Sydney couldn't carry a tune. Despite this, she sang with joy. After Jelly and Belly hauled Andrea, along with her diaper bag and stroller, up the 2 flights of stairs to their third-floor apartment, Jeff kissed Sydney goodbye. She was heading to her parents' house to wake up there on Christmas morning. See you at lunch? Sydney unnecessarily reminded Jeff as she got into her car. The only shadow on the crisp, cold Christmas morning was a tearful voicemail from Donna's new cell number. Belly had informed Jeff that a new executive assistant now occupied Ms. Hollister's desk at the bank downstairs. There was no explanation for Donna's sudden disappearance, One day she was there greeting Belly, and the next she was gone. Donna managed to say, "Mary, cry," 3 times through her sobs before Jeff deleted the remainder of the voicemail and blocked the number. "Yeah, Donna. Merry Christmas," Jeff thought, pushing aside Sydney's cosmetics, lotions, hair clips, and bands to locate his shaving cream buried underneath. Sydney packed all the gifts for Jelly, Belly, and Andrea in the trunk of her car before leaving for her parents' home at 1:48 in the morning. As a result, Jeff could only wear a regretful expression when he informed Jelly and Belly that he had no gifts for them. He did manage to bring a few presents for Andrea, including some adorable outfits. Jelly dressed Andrea in a charming Christmas sweater and struggled to fit the matching pants over the baby's bulky diaper. The family then descended the stairs together, Jeff keeping a watchful eye out for any potential trouble, still haunted by his recent altercation. Shirley and James had gone a bit overboard with gifts for Andrea. Lieutenant David Poor affectionately rubbed his wife Elizabeth's belly and inquired whether Shirley and James intended to spoil little Sarah when she arrived. "Perhaps," James teased. "Oh, we'll definitely find something for her," Shirley declared, and David and Elizabeth exchanged wide smiles. "That wraps it up," James announced once the last gift had been opened. "Thank you so much for my new coat," Belly expressed. "They're lovely," Jelly chimed in, struggling with the buttons on her knee-length winter coat and feeling the soft faux fur lining. "And thank you for the French press coffee maker," Jeff acknowledged James. "Wait and see. He'll use it once, decide it's too much hassle, and," Shirley predicted. "Consuela will appreciate it, I'm sure," David added. "Yes," James sighed, glancing at the 7 remaining boxes under the tree. The packages bore Samuel's name, written in his mother's affectionate handwriting on the small tags. Jeff sensed there was a story behind the brightly wrapped gifts, but felt it wasn't his place to inquire. "Perhaps he'll arrive," Shirley ventured. "Maybe," Elizabeth replied, holding her mother-in-law's hand. "If it's okay," Jeff eventually spoke after a long silence. "Yes?" Shirley looked up from the floor. "Sydney," Jeff began, attempting to extract the stubborn box from his wool trousers pocket. "Oh my goodness, yes," Sydney exclaimed, kissing Jeff passionately. "Now wait a moment," James grinned. "He hasn't even asked yet. How do you know what he's going to say?" "Because I asked Santa Claus for it." Sydney giggled, struggling to help Jeff retrieve the box from his uncooperative trousers. "Sydney, will you—" Jeff tried again as he finally managed to wrestle the box out. "I already said yes, darling," Sydney interrupted, kissing him again. "Wow, that's a beautiful one," David remarked, admiring the white gold ring with 2 small diamonds flanking a large diamond. "Oh, Sydney, it's stunning," Elizabeth exclaimed. "Because you asked Santa Claus," James teased his 22-year-old daughter. "Yes. You're not going to tell me Santa Claus isn't real after all these years, are you?" Sydney chuckled, wiping happy tears away. "No, I suppose not," James conceded. Turning his head, James noticed that Shirley was looking at the remaining gifts under the tree. Sighing, he got to his feet. "Well, I think we should make a toast to that," James said. "Shirley, do you have any egg yolk left?" "Of course there is. Who buys a gallon of this drink every year?" Shirley replied, also standing up. "And every year." "Hush, woman," James smiled. Their wedding took place on a beautiful Saturday in May. The priest of Redemption Baptist Church was initially hesitant to marry them. Jeff was a Catholic, and the Poor family had not attended his church for many years. However, a few dollars in his cash register made him change his mind, and he performed a truly remarkable service. Patrick Turner, who was Jeff's best man, noted that Sydney did an excellent job for a blind woman. Jeff turned to Patrick from the back of the church. "And what?" "She's not blind," Jeff said as the music grew louder and Sydney, holding her father's hand, stepped out into the aisle. "Wait a minute. So she sees? And she still wants to marry you?" Patrick asked incredulously. "You're a real master of your craft," Jeff laughed. "What, do you have a 9-inch pistol with you?" Patrick whistled sarcastically as a beaming Sydney slowly approached. "Yeah, like I'm ever going to chop her in half," Jeff retorted. "Do you have a sister?" "I don't mind if they're crazy. Damn it, crazy is good," Patrick said, grinning. Jeff nodded toward Captain Al Begnelli and his wife, Francine Begnelli, formerly Francine Howard, who were sitting with their 5 daughters. "They're cousins. Just a heads up, their dad's a cop. So you might want to watch your behavior." The tall one's quite cute," Patrick remarked. "Maybe her bust has something to do with it, huh?" Jeff quipped. 2 months after Sydney and Jeff's wedding, Sydney, Shirley, Aunt Francine, 3 of her cousins, along with Jelly and Belly, were enjoying lunch at Marble Country Club. Meanwhile, Jeff, James, Uncle Al, and David were cruising around in golf carts, playing golf. Andrea stuck close to Pop-Pop and refused to leave his side. "This crab salad is amazing," Sydney exclaimed, finishing a bite. "Sydney, yesterday marked 2 months," Shirley reminded her. "I know," Sydney gushed happily. "Can you believe it?" "Well, I can't believe that little bump you're sporting is only 2 months old," Shirley said, eyeing her daughter sternly. Oops," Sydney let out a guilty giggle. "So how far along are you?" Cousin Debbie asked. "About 4 months," Sydney confessed. "We're expecting a Christmas baby." Suddenly, there was a loud crash. Jelly, Belly, and Sydney turned to see their waitress staring at them, her face filled with horror. Jelly was the first to recognize the gaunt woman. "Donna?" Jelly asked.